Then he pulled the guide back and pulled the trigger, and I heard a whistle of a nail sail past my ear. I was paralyzed. This guy just shot a fucking nail at me. Get in the dumpster. I went back into my pit of shame, completely numb from what just happened. He never apologized, and we never spoke of it again. The job bumbled along, and we were just about done. The day came. The sheetrock guys pulled up in a huge flatbed out front. Fuck. Joel started panicking. He and the guys were scrambling, trying to cut the excess plastic stapled tight over the wall stud so the sheetrock guys could do their thing. Hesitantly, he handed me a utility knife with a box cutter blade inside. Cut against the stud, he instructed. Do not cut outside the stud. Do not cut over any space between the studs. If you do that, the sheetrock will bubble. We'll have to take all the plastic off and reseal the wall. Got it? Yeah, I said. I got it. But man, I didn't want it. This was a lot of pressure. I looked out the window. The sheetrock guys were already offloading the truck, mounting their attack. Fuck. I had to hurry the fuck up. I sunk my blade into the plastic against the stud. I told myself I could do this. Actually, it was more like I was pleading with myself not to fuck this up. I got this psychosomatic thing, and I don't think I'm unique in this, but I can't quiet my mind when I need to. I have this voice of sabotage I cannot stifle, swinging at a pitch, serving up a volleyball, bowling a ball, teeing off. No matter what, at the critical moment, a voice in my head says, "You're gonna fuck it up," and sure as shit, I do. Cutting the plastic was no exception. I pulled in a straight downward motion along the stud, then somehow my hand pulled to the right and I cut a huge semicircle over the gap between that and the next stud. Joel immediately saw it. "No," he yelled. "Go the fuck home, Greg. You're done here." I was done. I got in my brand new car. I knew I wouldn't have much longer and drove home through blinding tears. I wasn't upset about the job or Joel's predicament with the sheetrock guys. I was devastated by my inability to do simple things. I'll spare you the stories of working my dick off to get into Emerson College and working my dick off once I was there, and cut right to me working my internship at the Howard Stern Show in New York City. I had saved as much of my busboy and barback money as I could and landed a temporary place for free in Queens, after which I purchased my host a blowjob from a sex worker, which you may remember from episode 29, the night they introduced me to Molly, and lived in a towering hovel I paid through the nose for in Brooklyn Heights the remainder of the time. While the internship in my summer in New York is its own episode, I'll just tell you how, with just one semester of audio production under my belt, I found myself working at the Howard Stern Show under the tutelage of Scott the engineer, and I would point out that his tutelage was non-existent. I'd arrive around 4:30 in the morning, and he'd obviously be pissed he had to get up and let me in. That's how my day started. He barely said hello, and I'd follow him into his studio. He'd hand me the quote sheet for Robin's news, and one of my several roles there was to record the sound bites for the news onto carts that Howard could play to complement Robin's reporting. Here's what I'm getting at. If Robin said, "Here's what Ann Heche had to say about working with Harrison Ford on 6 Days and 7 Nights," you would then hear Ann Heche's quote play, and I was the guy who recorded it. I was doing this no problem all month long. No hammers swinging into chimneys, no lawnmowers in creeks, no fucking up. Well, one morning, I came in to find a K-Rock engineer in my studio across from Scott's doing image breakers and station IDs. Basically that sound-affected 93.7 WORK New York City kind of shit that takes you in and out of commercials. "Oh, hey," he said. "I'll be out of here in 1 sec." And with that, he finished an ID, ejected a DAT, digital audio tape, plugged in a cable into a patch bay, and left. The patch bay was a metal plate full of inputs, and there were about 50 cables plugged into jacks, and he just moved one, and I don't know what the fuck he did, but I couldn't get the signal into the soundboard to record Ann Heche's quote now. I begrudgingly went into Scott's studio, interrupting him. "What?" he asked. The guy just did not like me. Brian was in here doing some stuff, and now I can't get the signal into the board," I said. "I was hoping you might take a look at it." I tried to be as polite as possible, but the truth was I wanted to stab him below his jaw with a steak knife. "Sorry, that's what you go to school for. Can't help you. Union rules. Figure it out, ick." Union rules? What in the actual fuck? Okay, guess I'll go figure it out. I put the board in solo to isolate the signal into one channel and finally got the sound bites. I recorded them onto the carts, marked the in and out cue times on some masking tape, then went out to get everyone lunch. When I returned, there in the hall, waiting for me, was station manager Tom Chiasano, program director Tom Gesimondo, Gary Delabate, Casey Armstrong, and Scott the engineer staring at me. "What?" I asked. Casey pointed up to a speaker in the ceiling, signaling me to listen to the show. It was Howard and Robin bitching about the sound being fucked up on the news. Then I heard it. When Anne Heche was talking about working with Harrison Ford, it was over the audio from the first hour of the show, when I recorded. In other words, I'd recorded over the actual show and I put the board in solo, and the live signal was isolated into the channel I was recording the sound bites over, so both played. I fucked up the Howard Stern show. The carts were unlistenable. Scott's face was fire engine red. My knees turned to jelly. Blood left my brain. I was dizzy and had to remind myself not to drop the bags of food in my hand. I was shocked, embarrassed, and terrified all at once. Then, after a month of living and working in fear of Scott, rage rose up inside me. No way was I taking the fall for this. Fuck office politics. I capped my anger like it was an oil derrick about to explode and managed to gently throw him under the bus. Yeah, I'd asked Scott to take a look at the patch bay because something wasn't right, but he told me to figure it out. Union rules or something. They all turned to Scott, now scarlet. Gary walked down the hall into the studio to relay the news to Howard as management filed into Scott's studio to chew him out. He didn't get chewed out very long, though, as Howard called him in to bitch him out live across every major market in the country. Needless to say, our relationship worsened after that day, and he made that portion of my internship absolute hell for me. Luckily, though, I had other roles: logging videotape, faxing ad reads, recording Howard's live spots, but my favorite was the writers' meetings. It was catered, so I was able to eat every Wednesday, as the rest of the week I survived on the Dinty Moore beef stew and ramen my mom sent me as New York swallowed all my busboy savings in a heartbeat. At one writers' meeting, I had a peak life moment. We all sat in Howard's studio, and Casey was pitching Howard a guest who'd claimed to have invented a time machine and had a working prototype. Howard asked a few questions and then found himself on the fence. His main concern was that he sounded a little too wacky and unsafe to have in the studio, and that it probably wouldn't work as well as a phone interview. He didn't know what to do with the guy. I raised my hand. "Greg, what do you got?" he asked. "Well, he has a time machine," I said. "Book him for last week." The room fell silent. Fuck. I blew it. Then, suddenly everyone died laughing. I actually made Howard do his book it for last week nerd laugh, and I cannot find the words to express how good that felt. Anyways, I could go on forever with me fucking up at work. I mean, I haven't even gotten to the Hollywood gym I worked at or my internship at Mark Platt Productions, but I think you get the point. And that point is this: the bar is the safest habitat for me and those around me. I mean, if I overdo the simple syrup on a margarita, we don't need to rebuild a fucking chimney. Well, it's last call, so let me give you a tip. If the bar has stairs, like my present workplace, maybe stopping mid-flight to check your text messages isn't the smartest move you can make. There are drunk people behind you trying to negotiate a safe descent, and your drug dealer can wait a second. How long did you wait for him? Exactly. Folks, it's been a blast. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And a call to my fellow booze slingers. Send in your stories to cocktales@gmail.com. You can remain anonymous if you'd like. Thanks for listening, subscribing, downloading, and spreading the word. Don't be afraid to give me a good review, even if you're lying. If you want to support the podcast, check it out on Patreon. I don't have any extra shit there, but I'll happily accept donations. We'll see you next time on Behind Bars, Cocktails, and Wasted Nights. Cheers! Add 3/4 ounce of fuck. And if you don't feel like pausing this shit, fuck. Anyways, after I got myself in way too much trouble blowing shit up with my friends, Pops and me transitioned. Fuck. Seriously, I don't know how the fuck the IHOP and Denny's staffs do it, especially since their clientele is fucking ham-boned and obnoxious as fuck. Luckily, fuck. They had a fuck. I seriously keep jog. Fuck. Gain more speed as it fuck. I flipped my mane back just in time to watch the yellow and green giant silently. Fuck. What the fuck? It was the best I could do while I was doing Twister on scaffolding. Fuck. At the critical moment, a voice in my head, fuck. Cutting the plastic was no fuck. He didn't get chewed out very long, though, as Howard called him in to bitch about shit. It was catered, so I was able to eat every Wednesday, as the rest of the week I survived on the Dinty Moore beef. Fuck. Maybe stopping mid-flight to check your text messages isn't the smartest move you can make. Fuck.